Got Gators breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Here we are on this Wednesday night fall camp, about a week in the books. No better way to dive into it than Florida Victorious Stadium in Gale. Nick De La Torre right here joining us on Gators Breakdown again. Nick, man, I know you've been busy there in Gainesville with Florida Victorious. That angle in covering fall camp, you get the unfettered access. You get access nobody else has. So one reason we're bringing you on, and everybody certainly we'll talk about it, but you can get all the insider practice notes from Nick right there on the Florida Victorious boards. And we'll go tease a little bit so you know what you're getting if you sign up for it. If you're already a member, thank you. And also, you know what you're getting there. But Nick, yeah, thanks for hopping on, man, and kind of going through fall camp a little bit with us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. A little peek behind the curtain. Dave and I have been friends. I've slept in that room that Dave is doing the show from. Dave lets me stay with him and his beautiful family during Florida Georgia weekend. Dave and I, our friendship goes way back. So always happy to join, Dave.
All right, good stuff. And not so good stuff. We're going to talk a little bit of injuries here for the Gators. The injury bug a bit, nothing major, but just that injury bug's going around a little bit here for the Gators through fall camp, and we'll get into it just a little bit and all that good stuff. But Nick, let everybody know what is going on at Florida Victorious with you at the fall camp so far, and what maybe you guys got planned coming up for the football season.
Yeah, this is really cool for me. I'm super busy. I feel like I'm in camp, but not getting stronger at all. I don't even think I'm losing weight, but I'm out at every practice. It's really cool to kind of see what goes into it, ups and downs of practice. I came home today. My wife was like, "You look like you got some sun." I did. Fighting heat stroke every day. But it's really cool to kind of see how much work gets put in. I've always said my goal at Florida Victorious is to kind of tell the players' stories, the people's stories, and let you kind of know who these guys are. We just did it past the phone. You get to see like their personalities and kind of some of their inside jokes in the locker room. But every day I'm out at practice, whether it's open to the media or not. I'm out there from walk through until they break with Napier, and then break with their position coaches, and then talking to guys after. I just kind of put all that information, everything I see, what you would normally get from me or Dave or any of the guys in the media from a practice report, that goes up on our message boards every day. Not putting formations or anything out, stuff like that. Really haven't been touching on injuries, letting other people break injury stories. But kind of seeing it, and from a media standpoint, it's interesting to see in some instances where how quickly stuff gets out, like the Dallas Wilson stuff today. I was like, man, that got out quick. But other things, but it's really cool, just from my perspective, to kind of be out there. We had an open practice last Saturday for all of our members. Shout out Astute Alligator. I was abiding by the media's rules of, not being able to, report on stuff. And we had a member who was there and just, boom, gave it a rundown. And I was like, yeah, good stuff. But yeah, we're building a nice community over there. All of the money we raise for memberships is going right back into the players. So we like to say that, we're the only fan site that helps the Florida Gators win. And that's in a very real way. The money that we make from memberships is going back to support NIL efforts at Florida.
Good deal. Nick, Will Pelfrey says, Nick is here, so it can't be good news. Negative Nick.
Never been negative. That was a dirty rumor.
But he did say, joking, love Nick. And then you may have to explain this one to me now. Unique Productions says, hey, Nick, we got room for a, quote, chance men now.
That was a great Jordan Scarlett line on Stadium and Gale.
Okay.
And Dan had stepped away, and it was just Corey and I, and Jordan starts talking, and Corey and I didn't know where he was going. He's like, we call them chance men. And I was like, or chance man. And I was really like, what? And he starts talking, and he goes, it's the guy on the sideline that just goes, "Coach, give me a chance, man." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So now we have to make that a whole segment. Jordan Scarlett's Chance Man of the Week.
There we go. When injuries happen, who's the chance man? I'm assuming that's where this is coming from.
Yeah.
So there we go. Unique Productions, thanks right there for the donation. But we'll get into it right here. Everybody hit that like button. Subscribe right here on Gators Breakdown. But you don't have to like the news. We don't like talking about injuries either. But like the work we're doing right here on Gators Breakdown goes a long way for us. And subscribe right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. All right, Nick. So Dallas Wilson, you mentioned that news gets out. Treyaun Webb, the news gets out yesterday that he's going to be missing some time as well. Some other nicks and bruises and all that kind of stuff that we'll get into here. I want one more before we get into the specifics of it. I think this team, we've heard the team talk about it. You know, those physical practices down the stretch last year did wonders for this team. Really helped them go a long way in beating LSU and Ole Miss and you know, that 4-game winning streak and playing better against Tennessee and playing better against Georgia, and it all finally came together. A lot of that was those physical practices, you know, that the players really put it upon themselves, that they wanted to talk to the staff about that first bye week and all that buy-in, and it came there. So perhaps we're seeing that this fall camp with some minor bumps and bruises through the first week of fall camp. And now, you know, you add the DJ Lagway angle to all of this, but now some more names are starting to get added to the list. Just how physical are these early practices? I know the pads just came on, but you being there, practice in, practice out, how physical is this team getting? You're on mute, Nick.
First time podcasting, sorry. The last two days have been pads, and that's awesome to see hitting, you know. It's strange because this is the first time I've been able to see full practices. We'd only see Indy, and we never really saw hitting. You know, we would always get like a practice that was open, a full thing, one like in the spring to the media, but we couldn't report on it, stuff like that. But my only experience from football is high school. And back then, like that was 2 days, you're hitting, you're tackling to the ground. It was totally different. So like it's physical. The intensity is there. Billy Napier has mentioned multiple times, love the intensity, love the way you guys came to practice today, but they're being safe. Like they're not tackling to the ground. You're not diving at guys' ankles and stuff. There's sure every once in a while something will happen and a play goes to the ground.
It's football.
Yeah, it's football, but the intensity's been there. And I think, you know, I don't know that I'd be able to lie and say it was if it wasn't there. The intensity's been there, and it's really fun. You know, those first couple of days when they're just in spiders, which are basically just like cushioned shoulder pads, not really shoulder pads because you have the NCAA timeline you have to work around. Those days are fun because it's new. It's like, oh, good, we have football back. And then you see like pads come on, and you start hearing popping again. You're like, oh, that other stuff stunk. This is football now. So there's nothing I can point to. Like it's hot. The guys are working. But there's nothing that's like unsafe. And I've said this about baseball too. I think we're reaching, you know, when we're in these soft tissue injuries, I think we're reaching like the maximum that a human body can do. I talk about that all the time with like UCLs when guys get Tommy John surgery. I'm just like, hey, you're not supposed to throw 99 miles an hour over and over and over again. We're just reaching the limit. And it's football. If you have an ankle get twisted, if you pull a hamstring, you get a shoulder injury, you break a rib, you break a collarbone. That stuff, the broken bones one is funny when, you know, because obviously it comes with the territory for the strength coach. Like a broken collarbone, you're like, oh, what's Tyler Miles doing? I'm like, I don't know. He not giving the guys enough milk, I guess. But
yeah, concussions are the same way. What does strength and conditioning have to do with that?
Yeah. So like, there's injuries. There's going to be injuries in football. I think DJ the last couple of days, I think you can see him. They're still being taking precaution with him because it's a calf. And but I've seen him throw off platform, on platform, on schedule, off schedule. He's looked good, and I think he's looking better every day. And then the other stuff, like you're going to have injuries. It's football. You're going to have injuries like this. I don't know that any of the injuries that have been reported are are going to also be like season ending or extended period of time.
Yeah, so let's go into that. Today, Zach Alberti was the first one to put it out there, reporting that Dallas Wilson, freshman wide receiver, could miss a couple of weeks here. And then you had the news, of course, of Trey Wilson missing some time, Aidan Mizell missing. Those guys, already nursing some minor injuries as well. So, one angle to this is, all right, we're ready for Lagway to get back in and start throwing to his receivers. And he gets back. There you go. Trey Wilson, Aidan Mizell, and now Dallas Wilson. Not necessarily in the lineup right now. So missing time with those receivers when he comes back. And those guys expected to be major contributors. So, look, not a major deal, but it is, a little frustrating.
I get it. It's, we would all like everyone to be 100% healthy, when in reality, no one is. Even that first game, no one's 100% healthy. You could have a really easy camp and everyone's 95% healthy, and then you're not ready to go and you're not ready to tackle. I remember making excuses for this coaching staff, past coaching staffs. Heck, I probably even going back to McElwain and Muschamp, making excuses early on, being like, oh, there's so many missed tackles. I'm like, well, they don't tackle in practice anymore. As a safety precaution, they don't tackle in practice. You can tackle those, donuts as much as you want. It's much different than trying to tackle, Eddie Lacy or Jordan Castell trying to tackle Katie Daniels or Jaden Baugh. Much different than a blue donut rolling across some grass. So there is a give and take. I don't think, in my opinion, I think the practices have been run well. They have a break in the middle. They're getting water. There's nothing to me that sticks out that's over the top football, and you're just going to have some stuff.
For as truthful as you can be in your position, I don't want to put you in a weird spot here, but you talk about the injuries. Would you consider these minor? Nothing major. I mean, if game one, LIU is still 3 weeks away. Mm-hmm. If nothing else happens, you feel safe saying Dallas Wilson, Trey Wilson, Aidan Mizell probably good to go.
Yeah, I think so. I have no indication otherwise. The only thing that I think could change that is, well, it's LIU. And the last
True.
3 years, you've had Utah, Miami. And it's like we don't have the advantage of playing an ACC schedule and playing cupcakes. It's right off the bat, you're starting somebody. So to me, it's like maybe somebody clips this and somebody doesn't play. And they're like, well, Nick said he would. And it's like, well, it's LIU and you still won the game,
Good point.
Whatever score. But yeah, to me, no. I think from talking with a couple of those guys, they fully expect to be back before the end of fall camp.
And one thing I'll put out there too, people will say, "Oh, don't get me wrong. He probably does need the reps. He's a freshman, but go back 2 years ago. Trey Wilson barely had a fall camp in his freshman season, and then there he was getting almost 60 touches that year in his spot. So." Yeah, and Dallas Wilson, he already worked his way up to having some reps with the ones. So there's a little bit of proof that, okay, he's put in the work and the staff likes what they've seen from him so far. So it's not a detriment to miss some of fall camp.
Yeah, I remember seeing him in the spring and I think he had lost his 5th star or whatever. I don't know how the star rankings work when the games end in November and you lose stars or gain stars before December with no games or camps. But I remember when I saw him, I'm like, that looks like a 4-star linebacker and physically. And then I saw him move, and I'm like, and that's a 5-star receiver. Like he's just a different kind of athlete. Super cool kid, like bubbly personality. He's funny, joking around. Even today when I saw him, at practice, still joking around, but just a different kind of player. Like you're going to see when he's healthy, you're going to see a lot of Dallas Wilson in the fall, and it'll be interesting to see because you want him to take every single rep that he can take. And I always say that hey, sometimes freshmen playing early is the exception, not the rule. I definitely say that about the offensive line, but the farther you get away from the ball, the easier it is to play early with receiver. Outside receiver, you cannot get any farther away from the ball. But Dallas Wilson will play.
Yeah. So, and speaking of that, we now J. Michael Sturdivant Now, I would assume is going to start taking more of the outside reps because he was moving around a little bit from the outside to slot when Dallas Wilson was on the field with him taking those 1 reps. So I assume from what you've seen, J. Michael Sturdivant fitting in pretty nice there with the offense.
Yeah, he's really good. And talking to him, we did our Thursday tidbits on Florida Victorious every week. We talked on Thursday. We let you ask questions on the message board, and an athlete answers them. And I remember somebody asked a question about Cal and UCLA. And if you go back to, I think it was 2022, he had a great season at Cal.
Yep.
I don't know that anyone really played well at UCLA while Chip Kelly was looking to get out of there, and then did get out of there. So I think he was really excited in picking Florida to transfer to. I think he was really excited to play in this offense and with DJ Lagway. He's been incredible. I don't know what I've seen. Don't match the numbers, on CFBstats.com. Don't match the numbers from UCLA. Big, tall, fast. He's run over 20 miles an hour. Really can go up and get the ball high pointed, pulls it down. I think he'll stay outside. Florida's got a bunch of guys who can play inside, but I think, even VB3 has worked outside, and Trey has worked outside, and Trey can go back inside. Nashawn Montgomery can do both. Tank can play inside. TJ Abrams can play inside. With some of those guys in the wide receiver room being banged up, TJ Abrams is getting more opportunities. So it's a room where, you want every guy to be available, but there are certain rooms on the field where you're like, okay, you have enough depth to withstand an injury or two.
Well, let's keep on that theme right there because Treyaun Webb, now, the news coming out, he's going to need had a cleanup procedure on his right hamstring that he injured last year. And look, many people pegging him for that battle for the third running back there with KD Daniels, behind the 1-2 punch of Jaden Baugh and Jacoby Jackson. So Daniels will be the guy until Treyaun can get back into the mix. But it stings for a kid that is Gator through and through, taking care of his academics at a faster pace than a lot of people. So, but now another setback for him. And look, you and I got to hang out with him a couple weekends ago at our Independent Gator Media Day, and maybe you knew more at the time than I did. I assumed he was probably pretty close to coming back, and that was kind of the way the conversation went. But could not have been, a nicer guy about, hey, we'll talk about Jaden Baugh. We'll talk about Jacoby Jackson. I was out. I didn't really get to do a whole lot last year. He talked up the room a whole lot. I was hoping he'd get more of a shot this fall camp, but it seems like just a little bit more longer before we have to wait for Treyaun Webb to kind of get his chance again.
Yeah, that's good media training. So shout out to Matthew Hutchinson. It's just unfortunate. He missed most of last year. Missed spring ball, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Missed spring ball and hadn't really been able to go in fall camp. So it's probably better to get anything cleaned up now so you can be ready. But I think he graduated college in half the time it took me. The original COVID super senior. But it's super unfortunate for Treyaun, but he's a guy who I think, like you said, and talked to, has a good head on his shoulders. And that running back room's awesome. I put it on our board. I'll say that today. The media came yesterday, and I get to practice before that opens. I'm like, oh man, Jaden Baugh's in a black jersey. It's open practice today. I already know what the headline's going to be. And then he shows up today, and he's not. And just overhearing him talk, somebody asked him about it. He's like, oh, I was just sick. And I'm like, I want to be like, Billy, open practice today. Let him in. Let him see Jaden's running the ball. That's a running back room that's super talented. I think you're really 3 deep. Jacoby Jackson, we don't talk enough about. We had a chance to talk to him last week. He had a great season. He has a great story. A little bit of a touchdown vulture last year. Poor Elijah Badger getting tackled at 3 and at the 5, and 24 comes in and cleans it up. But Baugh-Jackson, and right behind them, Katie Daniels, Duke Clark. I had to break the Waltez out. Duke Clark. It's just a really talented room. It's really deep. I think you'll look at the guy like Duke and maybe you redshirt him, or maybe he's going to play on special teams, but you kind of have the luxury to be able to redshirt him if you want to, because of the three guys you have in front of him. But again, I mean, as we're on the injury front, you love to have that depth, especially at a position like running back, where the play, if you're touching the ball, the play either ends with you in the end zone or on the ground. One of the two, you get hit a lot.
Nick, you brought it up there with the running backs a bit and how deep that room is. But it got me thinking today because, of course, we know how Twitter can be and all that stuff. And the injuries come out and it's like, start slamming strength and conditioning, or it's injury after injury after injury. But it got me thinking, dating back to last year, and look, Florida had a long, long injury list for most of the season. It seemed like to me there's not a lot in the trenches, though. Like, the offensive line stayed pretty healthy last year. Besides Jamari Lyons last year, the defensive trenches stayed pretty healthy last year. You had Caleb Banks, Cam Jackson, Dez Watson, Tyreek Sapp playing, a lot of ball last year with, Caleb Banks, some hits and misses there, but it was nothing major. Like, you weren't having these injury issues in the trenches. So it seems to be, kind of that way now. It just seems like whatever injuries are happening, and when you go back to last year, it was the DBs. And now it's the wide receivers. It does seem like it's more the skill player type and, not so much in the trenches when you start looking at the injuries, the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's – hold on. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
The offensive line, especially Florida's, when you look at it, I think I did the math. It's like over 4,500 snaps returned. You're really only working in one new guy in Bryce Lovett at right tackle, because Najee Harris played all last season. Austin Barber's in his fifth year. Jake Slaughter, I think, is in his fifth year. Damian George is older. He's in his sixth year, which, talking with the guys, they made sure to remind me of that. Hey, we're not the old ones here. Damian's older. You have some depth behind them. I think Rod Kearney's having a great camp.
Yeah.
They like Caden Jones. Fletcher Westfall's coming along. Jason Zandamella's the center of the future. Like, you have some depth there, but if you can keep those five, we talk about DJ Lagway rightly a lot, but like, this is a team. I think this was Greg McElroy's take, and I agreed with it a couple of weeks ago. This is a team that can run the football 30, 40 times if they want to. And the way that DJ had the uncanny accuracy he has for a deep ball, this might be an offense where it's, hey, we're going to run, and then take our shot. Use the run to set the play action deep ball, because you have a quarterback who has real life 99 deep ball accuracy. And then on the defensive line, I think, Ron Roberts in his press conference said he thinks they're okay. I think you're a little bit thin inside if you get some injuries. Edge is a room. Edge defensive end with Sapp, Gums, Brian Taylor's moving aside. Sapp, Gums, McCray, Jaden Woods. Jaden Woods is going to play meaningful snaps for the Florida Gators this year. And it's really cool. I think that was probably the first time you got a chance to meet him at our independent Florida Media Day.
Yeah.
He's rare. He's just rare. There has not been a single practice that I've been to where he hasn't stayed after to get one-on-one work with one of the coaches. The other day, he was picking Carlos Dunlap's ear. Carlos Dunlap's been hanging around, not on staff, just kicking it. He's an exceptional player. Jalen Witt, like, you just have so many guys at the edge spot. Interior-wise, I think you get Caleb Banks back. Obviously, Jamari Lyons, those are your 1-2. But then behind them, you have Brian Taylor. I really like what Joseph Mbachu's looked like as a freshman. Brandon Bett, I think, is coming along. You might like to see him come along a little bit quicker. Yeah. You've got some guys in there. Tavoris Brown's getting better. He's developing. But it's just a spot where, like, if one of those frontline guys goes down, like, I think the depth is fine right now. But if somebody goes down, one of the frontline guys, the guys who I'd like as pieces to supplement now become starters, and that's where I think it would be shaky interior defensive line. But the defense has been playing great.
Yeah, no, reading your reports, it does seem like, and look, that happens a lot in fall camp, but defensive line ahead of the offensive line, and this is a good offensive line. So I'm still encouraged hearing that, and it's so weird. It's like spring football. This is kind of like where we're at right now. If one side's doing good, it doesn't necessarily mean the other side sucks. It's just, you're going against yourself. So, you that's just the take 22 that comes with it. Nick, some some standouts so far, if you can name some, but maybe not the biggest names. Like if maybe some guys that have surprised you that might be standing out a little bit, or guys who may not be the biggest names that are standing out.
Yeah, give me a second. I
Okay.
did this yesterday, so I'll read some names who aren't maybe the names that you know, or maybe the names that aren't talked about a ton.
Yeah.
I'll start with one that is probably talked about a ton, but maybe should be talked about more. I think Miles Graham's made a leap from freshman to sophomore year. He's going to be your starting Mike linebacker. Pup Howard, as he comes back, you have to worry about Jaden Robinson. Like Jaden Robinson is here to take jobs. Made a great play today, forced a fumble. I hear a lot of Lake City coming down, but he's super athletic. I remember Billy Napier telling us the story, and I asked J-Rob about it. He had 7 touchdowns on defense his senior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they were all either scoop and scores or interceptions, and some of them pretty long.
He's playing a little bit of
Jaden Wood-
safety. He was playing a little bit of safety then, right? I think.
Yeah,
too.
no, big boy now. Definitely not safety now. Cormani McLean's one that, a lot of stuff that I've said about Cormani that has gotten out. People think I hate him or whatever. He's always had the talent, but just needed to figure it out off the field. And that's one thing since the spring I've been hearing from the coaching staff, like, not a problem. Don't have to worry about anything off the field anymore. The coaching staff gets on him about his technique because he's so physically and athletically gifted that he can sometimes get lazy with his technique, and I'll just go catch up to him. If I get beat off the line, I'll just catch the guy. And I've seen him make interceptions where he gets beat off the line. Quincy Wilson and Tease Tabor are really taking time with him, and I've seen less of that. He had a pick today. He had a pick yesterday. They made him do push-ups because he should have had 2 picks today, but dropped one. Would have been a crazy one, but like Cormani's been looking really, really good. And then Sharif Denson. I think Sharif Denson is ready to play. Last one on defense, if he stays healthy, and this is something I'm really pulling for, is Aaron Gates. Obviously had a knee injury in high school, and then another knee injury at Florida, and I think he had a setback when he was coming back from that. He's been healthy. He's been running around, talking to him when we did our Florida Victorious Media Day, like chomping at the bit to play football. Really, really pulling for him. Great kid, hell of a football player.
Before you go to offense, there and you mentioned those 2 guys together, Denson and Gates.
Yeah.
Is it still a lot of rotation with those guys, or have you seen them on the field at the same time?
Yeah, I've seen them on the field at the same time.
Okay.
Denson and both have played safety and both have played nickel.
Okay. Yeah,
So they're cross training.
Okay, good. We heard Napier say that last week, but
Yeah.
it was more so. Okay, is it in emergency situations, or as physical as those guys are, I'd love to see them on the field at the same time in some ways. So glad to hear that there. All right, standing out on offense and maybe some not so big names that we should be looking out for.
Yeah, I think he's the least thought of the 3 receivers that enrolled early, but I am my Twitter account is quickly becoming a Naishawn Montgomery fan account.
No gloves.
I remember.
No gloves.
Yeah, no gloves, no drops. No gloves, no drops. We're working on marketing that already. It's funny because I asked him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't practice with him." But I remembered in the spring that he did. And I asked him about it. He was like, "Yeah, like gloves make it easy." I was like, "Well, do you use them in the game?" He goes, "Not really." And I was like, "If my job required me to do one thing and something made that one thing easier, I would do that thing." And listen, if he were dropping passes, I would tell him, like, "Hey, man, here's some gloves. Here's some Stickum." But he's just a natural receiver, really good route runner. Someone asked me about it. I said he catches the ball with his fingers, and by that I mean he's catching it way out. He's not letting it get into his palms. You've got body catchers, which you don't want. And then you've got guys that catch it deep in their hands. He catches it out in his fingers, strong hands. Really acrobatic in the air as well. Really, yeah, big Naishawn Montgomery fan. Jacoby Jackson standing out. J. Mike Sturdivant is standing out. And then I'd say VB3 and KD Daniels, too, as some guys who we don't talk too much about. But KD he does a really good job of getting skinny. He's a little bit smaller than Jaden Baugh and Jacoby Jackson, does a really good job of kind of like getting skinny, getting lost behind the offensive line, and then getting through, and super fast.
I think Jacoby Jackson joked with us at the Independent Gator Media Day. I think somebody asked him who's the Thunder and who's the Lightning, and I think he said both of us are. So would Katie Daniels would he be the Lightning?
I don't know.
Or is he physical as well with those guys?
Yeah. I watched Katie Daniels give one of the freshman defensive players their welcome to college moment in practice. Yes, can be physical.
Okay, all right. Well, there we go then. A couple more, Nick, before I let you go. With you being now at every practice and getting to stay, the demeanor of Billy Napier in that setting, like if what you can share. I mean, I understand. I don't want to get you in trouble either, but anything that you have noticed or anything that has surprised you about the demeanor, like, 'cause, everybody watches Billy Napier's press conference or his in-game interviews, and it's, he's so monotone. He's, does he ever get excited? All that. Do you see a side of Billy Napier in that setting that you really didn't see before?
Yeah, he's very good. And I watched the Netflix show yesterday, and I think it was either Graham or DJ said, like, he just is who he is. Well, what he says, that's who he is. But one thing that's different now that Ryan O'Hara is really handling most of the quarterback stuff, Billy is able to float around a little bit more. But I remember going to practices when it was Muschamp, and if the defense got burned, he wasn't celebrating that because that was his. It was almost like you had two teams. You had the offensive Gators and the defensive Gators, and if the defense didn't win the day, Will was pissed. Billy, today when there was a pick, I call it pick six, but they're not really trying to tackle, and they tell the guys to run all the way through. Billy's celebrating with the rest of the defense. He gets on the guys. He spent a lot of time still with the quarterbacks, especially with DJ. If DJ's not participating in a drill, he's talking with Billy, certainly getting mental reps, watching what a quarterback did, and then talking to Billy like, hey, is that the read? Or I don't know what they're talking about, but you can tell they're talking about what they're seeing. He's just very level. When he needs to get on someone, he will. When he needs to celebrate someone, he will. But he's kind of I use this term about baseball a lot. You don't get too high on your highs. You don't get too low on your lows. That you kind of just need to kind of stay in between. And I think that is his demeanor for the most part. But demanding of the guys and expecting and demanding them to bring intensity to every practice.
It's funny you said that with him celebrating with the defense and stuff. I go back to a year ago, to last season, and look, Lagway deserves a whole ton of accolades for kind of igniting this team in a lot of ways, but it was the turnaround in that defense that to me was the number one factor of because. Just Florida offense has been good enough to win a lot of games under Billy Napier, but the defense did just not be there, and that would be a lot of the reasons. But that turned around a little bit last November, and I think you saw it go a long way. So good to hear him celebrating with the defense there. Hey, Nick, another question. You being involved with Florida Victorious and all the changing landscape of college football, the house settlement and rev share and all that. How has it been explained to you, or maybe you putting two and two together, of future of collectives, future of Florida Victorious, and maybe it's different for Florida than other places?
Yeah, I saw, well, this answer will probably be null and void in 3 weeks or in 6 months. The way they change everything. I've seen some schools, after the president signed an executive order, and really an executive order is just telling people like, hey, I would like you to go and make this happen. I just don't think, like, if you look at what collective bargaining, I'm getting into that. If you look at what rev share is, $20.5 million. Ohio State reportedly had a $20 million football roster. So how are you going to win in rev share? If you're only going to rely on rev share, you're not going to be able to compete. You have to have third-party deals. You have to have collectives. You have to have other things. And we're not just relying on member support. We have donors. We have partnerships. There's some that will be coming out this week. Partnerships with legitimate companies that we're doing deals with. it's just kind of where we are. I think the only way we get away from it would be if schools admitted and conferences admitted that, like, hey, they're employees, and here's a 401k, and here's health benefits, and here's dental, and we can then get you a union, and we can collectively bargain and have a salary cap and do all that. But right now, if you are a school who, I think Clemson just announced today that they're getting rid of their collective or it's going in-house, if you think you're going to compete specifically in the SEC, the Big Ten, even non-Power 2 conferences, if you're going to try to compete with just rev share, you're just not going to be able to. Rev share, in my opinion, has only made what we do at Florida Victorious more important.
Okay. Good to hear. Good to hear. So a lot of support out there. Nick, let everybody know one more time, what the work you're doing at the Florida Victorious and all the practices coming up, and about the only place, guys, you can get every practice, the inside intel there from Nick De La Torre.
Yeah, I'll be at practice tomorrow. I will be at the scrimmage. Don't have to wait for scrimmage notes. You'll get them pretty quickly at Florida Victorious, since I'll be in the stands for that. Really excited.
Scrimmage Saturday, right?
Scrimmage Saturday. Yep. I'll be there. I will be there for the whole thing. Really enjoy that. It's really cool to see. Also, knocking on wood and praying for no injuries. I think the last 2 years we've had Cam Carroll and then Jamari Lyons during scrimmages. So I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest takeaway in scrimmages is coming out healthy. But we have a bunch of content. We'll actually be talking with Liv McGill tomorrow. She'll be talking directly to our members, all freshman SEC women's basketball player. I'm doing a podcast with Eric Fawcett and Alex Condon tomorrow.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So we'll have that on our YouTube page. We're going to have Eric talk nerdy with Alex and break down some plays. And I'm just going to be there for the ride, hanging along for the ride. But we have a ton of content. We just try to take advantage of the relationships that we have with the coaches and with the university to give you really inside access to the Florida Gators that you can't get anywhere else.
All right, everybody, join FloridaVictorious.com to get Nick's updates from the only place and quickly you're going to get those scrimmage notes on Saturdays. So sign up in the next couple of days. Trying to help you, Nick. Trying to help everybody.
Yeah. Dave, listen, Dave obviously has his own Discord, but Dave pops in.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I see the Gators breakdown. I'm like, oh, Dave's on the board.
There we go. All right, Nick. Anything else, man?
No. Just I'm going back to editing videos after this.
Oh, there we go. I'll let you get to work then. Nick De La Torre, Florida Victorious Stadium and Gale, joining us right here on Gators Breakdown. That'll do it for this episode. Follow me on X at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.